suppose moving to the kibbutz, without, planning it too much was one of the best moves I've done, because it just helped, it created a kind of a greenhouse for my creativity and focus. I didn't have my real family with me, and I didn't really have anybody. I didn't have anything a part of the music, and I didn't really need anything. I didn't feel sorry for myself. I felt that it started to get difficult when I was sick, for example, and you need someone to take care of you. That's when you feel the loneliness starting to creep on you. But as a teenager, the only thing I cared about is to get better and better in music. It gave me such a pure pleasure, due to my dyslexia that, really got me into a few troubles in school. And I obviously, I actually went to a special education school, which they really enabled me to enhance the music, and they said, okay, go for it if you're good at it, and that's what makes you happy. You should just stick into it and try to get as good as you can.
Arli Liberman's next step was meeting leading Israeli jazz musician Paul Suleiman, who was putting together a band made up of Israeli and Palestinian musicians called WhiteFlag Project. Politics aside, the first issue the players came across was a simple language barrier.
For like a month, we were running on like 2 words, yeah, good, yeah.
The geographical neighbours also had a divergent approach to rhythm.
First of all, you got the pulse of songs, right? And funny enough, when we try to explain them, the most common 4x4, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, that was so foreign for them. They were like, what? They got like 1. And it's a huge sentence of music. In the beginning, what you do, you take, for example, let's say an Arabic musical sentence, okay? And you ask them to loop it, just do it again and again and again. And you figure out where is the start and end point. Once you figure it out, you kind of figure out, okay, how can I put my interpretation on that? Another thing that really helped is, for example, these patterns, these pulses from the Middle East that, for example, from Sudan, that goes like, that they've been doing it for thousands of years. But if you really break it apart, it's bloody swing. It's all just different names reflect from different evolvement of cultures, really,
While Arli fuses rhythm from all points of the compass, it's his antics up and down the fretboard that had engineers at the Lab recording studios nicknaming him the Israeli Shredder.
The Israeli Shredder, that is just hilarious, because I don't think that I'm a really good guitar player, so you gotta be pretty good in order to shred. I try to keep everything pretty much live in that debut album, just because I wanted to create like a rawness, like something kind of, I like the heat of the moment. Using Stephen Thomas on drums and Junior Turo on bass, I love improvising, but all of a sudden I just impose all these weird Middle Eastern noodly melodies.
While this song, Ben Adam, retains its Middle Eastern flavour, despite the addition of a somewhat Antipodean skank, the opening opus, Concrete Desert, really begins to bring Lieberman's homeland to life.
When you're going down to the Dead Sea in Israel, it's amazing. Israel in general, it's 700 k's from top to bottom, okay? And if you would actually do that drive, which will take you 6 hours, you see 4 or 5 different landscapes, right? But when you're going down to the Dead Sea from Tel Aviv, for example, which Tel Aviv is a very happening, super vibrant city, you go in 40 minutes, all of a sudden everything it's brown, light brown, and you would see these Bedouins. They started to settle there, on the way there. So what you see, you got a desert, and all of a sudden you get lots of little shacks. Looks pretty dirty. But shacks and concrete and camels and goats, and it's huge. It's just all of a sudden it's just smother the landscape. And when I came up with that song, I told myself, I'll be like super honest, I told myself I want to find a way to open my show, you know. And I was in Titirangi, and I had an amazing, beautiful house there looking at the sea, full of inspiration. And I closed my eyes and I told myself, I just picture the drive there, because I always been really inspired and I always wanted to write about that. So I combined those two motifs, you know, want to open a show, want to, you know, enhance that concrete desert. And it's funny that you say still, because I always had those steel shacks, you know, that these guys are living in. But we're talking about, you know, in the thousands, in the tens of thousands, okay? And there's something completely wrong about it, because these people are not Israeli citizens, you know, because they started as a nomads, like all Bedouins, and then they just settled there. I don't say that it's wrong that they settled there. I say it's wrong that they're not Israeli citizens. I don't know if they want to be an Israeli citizen. So it's like it's kind of a no man's land, and it's a very wide landscape, but there's a lot of things going on beneath the surface.
If you've just joined us, we're with musician Arli Liberman on our way to the Dead Sea.
It's like 400 meters below sea level that the sun doesn't affect on you. It's just hot, you know, so you don't get burned, you just get brown. Over there is just dead silent in your head. It's that's the biggest therapy for me. You see, it's almost like, you know the expression, I don't know if it's in Hebrew, Fata Morgana? Have you heard that expression? It's expression when you're working in a desert, sometimes you hallucinate and you see like water and trees.
The mirage.
The mirage, okay. In there's another word for it, it's called Fata Morgana. Maybe it's in Arabic. It kind of felt like that in the beginning, because you're in the middle of the desert and all of a sudden you got that salt lake. You know, what the heck? And then you jumping in, and it's got the weirdest sensation, this water. This is not a normal water. You know, the bottom of the sea is just salt, obviously. You're not allowed to put your head in there, okay? And very oily, so it floats you straight away. You float, you can't really submerge there. And you got the natural mud in there. But more than that, there is like a heavy, in a good sense of it, like a heavy, very, I would describe it, I'm gonna sound a bit kind of arty-farty, but very kind of rounded, big energy, you know, that just sit there and get you into a desert mode, which is everything is kind of cruisy. It's kind of a pre-internet kind of age, you know. You feel like you don't want to do anything with the rest of the world. You just want to be there, you know, and you don't. It's very hard to think about things over there. That's why I love going to the Dead Sea, because you just float, you know. You know there's no living creatures in this water. It's a different planet.
And you don't want to think much. I find that fascinating.
Oh, it's brilliant, because my head is just, it's like a chatterbox. I would not stop thinking about everything.
The overall harmony on the record, there are so many different aspects to it. But to my ears, maybe it's that there's a lot of maybe minor thirds, there's a lot of chromaticism that lends a certain darkness to the sound.
I would say it's melancholic, because I'm a positive guy. So with all my pain, I'll still always in my life so far, I'm still young, but always in my life, every painful situation end up being a positive experience somehow. Or if I'm looking at it, you know, I'm looking back, it's always end up, you know, in a good way. But there's no doubt that the Middle East carry a lot of melancholic history and vibes, you know, till today. And most of the roots are coming from agony of survival. You know, it's all about survival over there. And you know, so I suppose that was the main, that's why you interpret it as dark, you know. And I think I would tend to agree with you. It is there's some very haunting melodies there.